Kudos to everybody at Ram Trucks. The We Will Rock You commercial. Ram Truck made it from Iceland to Minneapolis over the mountains and across the ocean. If you want to check it out, head to the Ram Trucks YouTube page for the well-produced bonus version of that commercial. It's called the Ram Trucks YouTube page. Ram Trucks, thank you for sponsoring our show on a post-Super Bowl Monday. Mark Schlereth in 5 minutes. So this is one of these things that we talked about during the week. One of the things New England's done very well, and this year Philadelphia did it very well, there wasn't a lot of noise around the Eagles. Now, Alshon Jeffrey Friday, yap, made a prediction. Don't love that. But you had both coordinators for New England talking about jobs, Tom versus Time documentary, the two Bills. Then you have Gronk coming on concussion protocol. You got the Brady and his son story. There was a lot of noise around New England. Bill Belichick goes to a Timberwolves game. That captures the nation's attention. So 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, 75%, the losing team had the hot coordinator, and now it's Josh McDaniel. And there's a story out today that the Colts are going to be royally ticked off because they've agreed to terms to hire Josh McDaniel, but he is waiting for Belichick because there is a belief inside the building, and we talked about this before the Super Bowl, it's 50-50, is Belichick going to retire? Now, Gronk, as Christine told you an hour ago, he's thinking about retirement. Brady is not. He's going to come back. Age defiance is his brand. But there is just a lot. Now, Malcolm Butler is benched. So think about all the things were going on. Remember last year, Kyle Shanahan was the hot coordinator. He got blamed for the Super Bowl loss. Was he distracted? Again, Philadelphia today, all they want is credit. They don't want to hear any of this stuff. We're the better team. That game was a fluid game, goes either way. You could have called pass interference on the alley-oop to Gronk at the end, the Hail Mary, on one of Philadelphia's, defensive backs. It was a game that goes either way. It was a great Super Bowl, just like Atlanta Super Bowl, Legion of Boom Super Bowl. These games can go either way. New England usually wins them. Didn't yesterday. Philly deserves credit. But look at the noise around New England. Josh McDaniels gets a job. Matt Patricia's getting a job. 2 different documentaries. And those documentaries spawn little, especially Tom versus Time, little controversies about somebody said something about Tom's daughter. Then he kissed his son. That was weird, and he had to talk about it. I just think when you have the hot coordinator, isn't it going to be a little bit of a distraction? Just ask yourself this. What is New England always great at? Special teams. They were kind of a mess yesterday. What is New England usually really good at? Adapting defensively. They never did yesterday. They never adapted. Their defense in the second half was as bad as it was in the first. New England wasn't necessarily all buttoned up with coaching. I didn't think it was one of Belichick's best days. So, it's not an excuse. It is a reason. New England, for the first time I can remember, had a ton of noise around their Super Bowl. A lot of it. Christine with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Just to get an idea of how bad the Patriots defense was yesterday, they allowed 538 yards, which is the most under Bill Belichick in any game for the Patriots.
Oh, really?
Yes, ever. And they allowed 41 points, which is tied for the second most under Bill Belichick. They're 2 pretty bad stats.
He benched arguably their best corner.
Yeah.
And
still want to know why.
And Eric Mangini said here 40 minutes ago, he's like, one of the corners is like, yeah, we don't know what happened. And we're not going to go on the air with this yet, but there's a lot of speculation on the internet.
Yeah, it's starting to come out.
Yeah, that Malcolm Butler got caught doing something and Belichick was pissed. And, listen, there's an even, like Nick Saban, if a guy does something wrong, benches him for a play. Belichick benched the guy for a game. Isn't there a happy medium where you could say, listen, Malcolm, I'm taking you out the first 2 series? God, Christine.
He's cold. Remember, Tyquan Underwood wasn't nearly the same player, but he cut Tyquan Underwood the night before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, come on. And again, Bill looked at film, Christine. He knew the Eagles' O-line was going to present some issue. Bill didn't look at the film and think, we're shutting these guys out. You knew you were going to need every bit of help you could get defensively.
And even with Butler in the game, the defense still would have struggled, I think.
Yeah.
So here's Matt Patricia on the defense last night.
No, I mean, you give all the credit to Philadelphia. I mean, they did a great job. Obviously executed it very well. Their offensive line did a phenomenal job. The run game, obviously, Blunt, everybody they played really well. And, I got to coach better, and we got to just do a better job altogether.
That's such a cliche answer, when he says, we just got to do a better job altogether, because you will never be doing that job ever again. So what's he saying?
All I'm saying is New England has always been the great adjustment team. They didn't adjust. Outside of taking Alshon Jeffrey away in the second half to some degree, no blitzes, no pass rush. Their special teams weren't good. It just wasn't what we've seen from the previous 7 Super Bowls. It didn't look like it. Now, that said, the Eagles' O-line to me was the story. Mm-hmm. They were unbelievable. The MVP, they'll never do this, should have been the Eagles' O-line. It was run blocking, pass blocking, picking up the occasional New England blitz was amazing.
That just made me think of, at the end when they line them up, and the trophy goes down the middle and they all kiss it, that grosses me out.
Yeah.
Did you watch? They all kiss and you know that their mouth is dry and weird from the game, and it's just a lot of germs. Anyways, the Lions have officially named Matt Patricia their head coach, regardless of what happened last night. So he gets a nice fresh start and something to look forward to, which I'm sure is helpful. There were reports yesterday that Josh McDaniels was hesitating over whether or not to actually take the Colts job. But now this morning, it is still expected that he will be named the head coach in Indy despite those reports. But last night when he was asked about it, he refused to answer questions.
Josh, the expectation has been that you're going to go to Indianapolis.
I'm not going to talk about that tonight.
Are you going to be with the Patriots past tonight?
I'm not going to talk about that tonight.
It's going to impact the future of the football team we cover.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good way of rephrasing it, actually.
Yeah.
He's saying it actually makes sense for this team and this game.
Yeah.
But good for him for not answering. And finally, just a little basketball for you in case you missed this. Mm-hmm. The Cavs lost 120-88 to the Rockets on Saturday.
I saw it on TV. It was like 90-50 at one point.
Yeah, 120-88 was the final score. So it's their 12th loss in 18 games, and it makes this the eighth straight loss, on national television.
Oh wow!
Right. So LeBron, not surprisingly, has an idea on how to fix this nationally televised losing streak.
Some lost for words, actually. 0-8 on national television. They should take us off every national televised game for us this season. We haven't played good ball, and we get our butts kicked every game we play on national television. So, so lots of words.
They should take the Cavs off national television.
If he leaves Cleveland, they will be.
Oh, jeez.
For like 20 years.
Point. So another reporter asked if the Cavs need to make a move. They asked this to LeBron, and his answer was, "That's not a question for me. I'm not the GM."
Exactly.
I'm not even going to say anything.
Exactly. Christine, the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Dollar Shave Club has everything you need for your hair, face, skin, and shower. Got you covered head to toe. Give the club a try today. I'm a member. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Colin, dollarshaveclub.com/Colin. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He keeps them in his pocket, from what I've been told. His name is Mark Schlereth. He's a Fox NFL analyst, and let's bring him on, baby. You got to be loving it, because it was about Philadelphia's big uglies. It was an offensive line day for Philadelphia. Let me tell you something. That offensive line, I know when an offensive line is good because I know some of their names. I don't know anybody on Tennessee. Well, no, I know left tackle for Tennessee, but Miami's O-line, I don't know a lot of the players.
Right.
I got to tell you something. To me, my overarching theme is there was mistakes on both sides. There was good officiating, not so good. Philadelphia's O-line was the difference in the game to me.
They were good. By the way, good morning, Christine.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's good to see you.
You too.
Absolutely, Colin. You look at how they're built. Now, remember, this is an offensive line that lost a Hall of Fame left tackle in Jason Peters.
Yeah, no, he's a Hall of Famer. He will be a Hall of Famer.
He's the best left tackle in football, 14 years in, and he is phenomenal. Lost him. But Kelsey's a Pro Bowl player. Lane Johnson is a Pro Bowl player.
And they're athletic, by the way.
Player.
Their guards pull. They're athletic.
Brooks at the right guard position, a really good player. Wisniewski, Steve Wisniewski is his uncle. You know, he's one of the best that's ever played the game, was a former Raider. So, I mean, and that kid can play as well, real technician. So, yeah, they're phenomenal up front, what they're able to accomplish, the way they did that. And you mentioned, they didn't blitz a whole lot. Because every time they blitzed on the very first play of the game. They brought a slot corner, cat corner off the slot. They picked it up, and they did it several other times. And every time they blitzed, they got gutted. I mean, every time they blitzed, offensive line picked it up, and Nick Foles just dished the ball. The Zach Ertz touchdown was off a blitz. Whoop, touchdown. I mean, so all those things that they were able to accomplish in that game.
Third and fourth down, they were fantastic.
Here's the other thing. It's amazing how aggressive you can be when you're at 2nd down and 4 every play, right?
Well, let's talk about Doug Peterson, because you really liked his coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things you have to overcome, and I talked about this a lot last week going into this game, is you have to overcome the Patriot mystique. And oftentimes what happens is you get to a point where you're playing pretty well, and you start playing the clock management game. Okay, we got a 10-point lead.
Atlanta,
now, if we just do this, and if we just do this, and then we can come away with a win. And Doug Peterson essentially said to his football team, guys, we've been aggressive all season long. We've been the most aggressive team in football. You know what we're going to do? We're going to keep the accelerator mashed down, and we're just going to go. And that's what they did through the entirety of this game. They never, ever slowed down. And they answered. When the Patriots came out in the first half, drove the ball 75 yards, touchdown. What did they do? They answered with a touchdown. They're like, okay, you want to play that game? You think we're just going to crumble? We're going to go 3 and out and punt? Nuh-uh. We're going to keep it pace for pace with you guys.
You've been in the Super Bowl as a favorite and an underdog. Philadelphia came in with a little bit of an underdog chip. Not only an underdog, Mark, but because they were playing a dynasty, a lot of people rooting for Philadelphia. I was in a house yesterday with all Eagle fans, except me and my wife, and I don't think she's come out of the bedroom yet. She's still haunted by this. She's a Patriot homer. So tell me, give me being a favorite, being an underdog. I'm not saying it's a huge thing, but it is something, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question. So twice, Super Bowl 26, which was in Minneapolis, the Redskins versus the Bills.
Yeah.
Probably an 8-point favorite or so. Super Bowl 33, the Broncos versus the Atlanta Falcons. Probably 7.5, 8-point favorite. You know what I felt after those games were over? I didn't feel a sense of joy or accomplishment or euphoria. You know what I felt? Relief. It's really what I felt. It's like, thank goodness that was over and we didn't screw it up.
And gag on national TV.
Right, exactly. 11.5-point favorites at kickoff, 13-point favorites at the beginning of the week, or 13-point favorite, or underdogs, 11.5-point underdogs at kickoff, 13-point underdogs at the beginning of the week, the Broncos versus the Green Bay Packers. After winning that game, euphoria, just excitement.
Nobody believed in you.
Joy. We're simple creatures, man. Look at fire hot, right? I mean, you give me that underdog mentality. You give me a chip to play with on my shoulder. You don't think that doesn't drive me? And guess what? I never thought during the course of that game that we were underdogs. I never sat on the sideline and go, we'll show them, right? But during the course of the week, does it make you prepare a little bit better? Does it make you focus in and lock in a little bit better? And that's really the key. And I'll tell you another thing from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah.
In those years with Mike Shanahan, Mike Shanahan said this. He's like, going into that game, remember Leroy Butler? Just all over the place as a safety. He was down making every play. And we created an exchange on the backside. So all I'm saying is we exchanged the weak side linebacker. We actually kind of designated him as the safety, and we took the safety and said he's the actual Will backer. So we exchanged the two players, and we blocked it differently than we had blocked it all season long because Butler was making every play in the backfield, and we just gutted them on the cutback runs. He was a non-factor because we turned the weak side linebacker. We just said, hey, he's going to be loose. He's yours, wide receiver. We're going to take care of the safety. And Mike Shanahan said, going into that game, this is how we're going to gut them. We're going to gut them in the run game. They were like the number one team in the league as far as defending the run. Nobody ran it against them. and we just ate them alive. And from the very first play that we ran it just, I mean, folded like the Red Sea, like just parted like the Red Sea.
I think you can tell, Mark, in football, when the Giants beat the Patriots the first time, New England tried to reverse on the first play. Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, Tuck blew it up.
Right.
First thing I look at Super Bowls is line play.
Right.
And my notes for the game, one of my first notes was Foles loose, Foles confident, Foles time. You could tell very early in that game, Nick's going to have time to throw. You could also tell in that game, Tom's going to have time, but he's going to have to move up in the pocket. Like 10 minutes into that game, you could see line play.
When a coach tells you this is what's going to happen, and you walk out as a player, and the very first play you run, it happens exactly like your coach tells you it's going to happen.
That's awesome.
You're like, oh, yeah, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. And you know what? Tip of the cap to Doug Peterson, because they went in their bye week before they played Atlanta. They went and looked at all the old Chip Kelly stuff that Nick Foles ran when he was real good with Chip Kelly, and they amalgamated two offenses together. They took that RPO system and some of that, but a traditional style of route combination, and they put that in. And Nick Foles, for what? Now it's 8 and 3, so 11 quarters. Nick Foles has been absolutely unbelievable since the first quarter of the divisional game against Atlanta. And that's what great coaching is. I mean, you look at Doug Peterson, he out-Belichicked Belichick, right? He took a system and he said, how am I going to make my quarterback successful? How am I going to make him confident? And how is he going to have success in this playoff run? And he said, we'll change a little bit of what we do so it fits his style.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to worry about what he can't do. I'm worried about what he can do. And I'm going to put him in a position to have great success in doing the things that he can do. And that's just great coaching.
All right, two things. Let's talk about Gronk retirement. Christine had this earlier, where Gronk really paused. I don't know if we have the tape, but they asked Gronk about it. And I've never thought. I'm not trying to be a cheap shot. I don't see Gronk as a deep thinker. He's more instinctive as an athlete and as a dude. Mm-hmm. He's jumping around all the time. But he was asked on the podium yesterday about retirement, and he was thoughtful. He's like, I'm not ready to answer that. And let's play the tape here. This was not necessarily the way Gronk answers questions. Here it is.
I'm definitely going to look at my future, for sure. I'm going to sit down the next couple of weeks and see where I'm at.
Gronk, what would make you retire?
I'm not ready for these type of questions right now. I mean, I'm just going to sit down, reflect on the season.
But you're human. Was it the concussions? Is that kind of a concern to you at this point in your life?
No.
Has retirement already crossed your mind? You've actually put thought into it?
We just lost. I mean, I just want to just sit back, relax the next couple of weeks, and I really got nothing to say about that right now.
What do you make of that, Mark?
Yeah, I think everybody at the end of the season, and especially when you've had the success that he's had, you always kind of contemplate what I want to do. I've had success. I've been at the very top of my profession for a very long time.
You got some money put away.
And one thing and I'll tell you about Gronk, like Gronk lives off of endorsement money. Like he banks everything.
Oh, he does?
Oh, yeah. He's
Kevin Garnett in the NBA was never spent a game check.
Right. Yeah, but that's what Gronk has done very well for himself that way, and he's very smart that way. I know he comes off, like you said, as kind of a meathead and a party guy and all that stuff. But he's deeper than that. And so he's done a great job with that kind of stuff. And
would you retire Mark? He gets banged up a lot.
Sure, he's a big target, takes a lot of hits.
Would you retire if you were him?
Well, I mean, me personally, I was going to play until they essentially carted me off the field. So, I mean, that's every guy has his own reasons for, getting to that point in his life. I've always said this, and it's the thing that just shocks me, or I guess impresses me most, is a better way to put that about Brady and Belichick, is they're never sated by success. Most of the time when you have success, you get a little bit fat, you get a little bit lazy, you don't maybe want to do the work. I've always said, man, lining up on Sundays is not the problem. The problem is practicing and working Monday through Saturday.
Right.
Like, I got to the point where I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, Drew Bledsoe always says, he's like 40, he's like, I could still throw it.
Right.
He goes, my legs are tired. My shoulder's hurt.
Your body's tired. Mentally, you're tired. So to be able to continue to press and grind and being at 5, hey, we've got 5 world championships, but I'm still coming in at 5, grinding through tape, and I still love it. Like, that's the most impressive thing to me about those guys.
Malcolm Jenkins, I think this is a story that's going to come out in the next 12 hours. He is a guy that plays 98% of the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Right before the game, Malcolm Butler, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Malcolm Jenkins, great safety for the Eagles. Malcolm Butler for New England, players are told he's out for the game. You see him very emotional on the sidelines. I don't know, man. I understand coaches having rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened, but, man, to me, my concern would be if Malcolm Butler doesn't play, how the hell does that land in the locker room, Mark?
Yeah. See, I would look at it the other way. I think it's what makes the Patriots the Patriots. Like, depending upon what he did, and I believe that he did something that violated a team rule.
Yes. Yeah, clearly. He had to.
Right? I mean, it doesn't seem to be an injury thing. It doesn't seem to be anything else. He did something to violate a team rule.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, the Patriots way. And I've always respected that you adhere to it. See, because, like, you sit there and you preach, we have a way of doing things. And we are accountable to one another, and we sacrifice to one another. And then all of a sudden, if you get a guy that's a really good player and you circumvent those rules, it essentially says, as an organization, what we preach to you doesn't mean anything because we don't adhere to it.
Especially in crisis and big games.
Absolutely. So yeah. I look at something like that, and I say, good for you, because most coaches would bench you for a series or bench you for 2 series, right, and then say, okay, now we need you.
Right.
I appreciate the way the New England Patriots go about their business. They're going to stick to their set of tenets that they've developed, and it's the reason that guys come there, play for less money. Guys who have been maybe problems other places go in there and they adhere to the formula because they know who's in charge, and ultimately it's about us. As Joe Gibbs used to say this all the time when I played for him in the Washington Redskins, one of the most regal people I've ever been around in my entire life. This is not about you. He would say this all the time. Lose yourself.
You don't.
It's about us, not them.
That's what Greg Popovich always says. When you're over yourself, we'll draft you. You've got to be over yourself. Yeah. Then we'll go get you.
You don't take anything away from after the game. They asked Butler what happened, and he said they gave up on me. You don't think there's any chance that there's something behind that?
I have no idea what went on with Malcolm Butler, and
it is not a little thing. It would be like Malcolm Jenkins getting.
No, it's huge.
It's gigantic.
Yeah,
it would be
a huge deal.
Jay Ajayi, the running back, getting benched. I mean, this is a go-to guy that you depend on for 60 plays.
Yeah, but here's the incredible thing. Going back to Philadelphia, you look at every guy they interviewed on that team.
Yeah.
Every guy talked about the importance of the other guy. Like, when was the last time you celebrated somebody else's success like it was your own?
Yeah.
Did you watch Carson Wentz?
Yeah, he was. I mean, honestly,
over the moon for his friend Nick Foles.
Yeah, that's a culture that is created by management down. Tip of the cap to Philadelphia.
Yes.
Mark Schlereth, great stuff, bud. Thank you so much. Coming up next, is the dynasty over? I will acknowledge something about that dynasty next in the Herd.
Heartburn.
No.